Hey everybody! Today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to refill your Copic markers. How do you know when you need to refill your Copic markers? The first sign when you know you need to buy ink is when your marker nib starts to discolor or fade, as well as your marker nib might be roughed up. You can purchase spare nibs or tips for that certain marker, depending on what style you own. And the third sign to know when your marker needs ink is when it starts to squeak when you use it on the paper. So I've owned this marker for a while and I've used it a lot and it has ran out of ink. You can tell that it needs ink because all the streaks it leaves on the line I drew. It might not squeak because it's kind of fairly new. It just ran out recently, but I do need to purchase ink for it. And I will show you the nib real fast. So here's the nib up close, and you can see how it is discolored at the very tip. And I've definitely roughed up my nib, so I might purchase a nib too. Alright, so that's the nib when it's all dried up. It doesn't look the greatest, very discolored, like I was telling you earlier. But when you compare it to a marker that does have a lot of ink, the nib looks very beautiful and luxurious, almost. Hope you guys like the way I said that. So when I draw my line, we can tell that there's no streaks and no squeaks. So you can tell that your marker has just enough ink whenever that's the case. So, refilling your marker. Before we get to that, I'm actually going to pull out my nib. If you are interested in replacing nibs, which is the tip of your marker, you can always purchase little packages according to the marker you own. If it's a chow, if it's a original, whatever the case is, all you do is purchase the nib, pull the old one out, just like this, and voila, and just replace the new nib. Alright, so getting to refilling your Copic. Make sure you have just a piece of printer paper, anything you can find. As you can tell, mine's is crinkled, so it doesn't matter. Make sure you have something under your ink and your marker because it can get messy if you're not careful. What we're going to do is we're going to pull both caps off of the marker, and whatever side you use the most, I would use that side for the ink. So when you're putting the ink in, whatever side you use the most, just put the ink on that nib. I use the brush tip more, so I'm just going to do it that way. So all you do is twist off the cap. Various ink bottles are designed to make it a lot easy for us to get the ink inside the marker. It has like this little nozzle thing where you can just squeeze and the ink comes out. So, in that case, this is the messy way that you do not want to do it. Pulling off the nibs and sticking the ink bottle down in to the hole to fill up the marker is like the no-go way to do it. I would not recommend doing it that way. Instead, I will show you the way I do it because it's more efficient and it's less messy, and that's what we want. So I'm going to zoom in. Alright, so I have my marker right here, and I have my brush tip nib that I use the most. Just squeeze the bottle very, very gently, because it'll come out fast. So just squeeze it onto the nib, and you can see that the ink is dripping down into the marker where the ink is held.